Hello and welcome. I am so excited about this project. This is the Song of the Garden Bandit. It is inspired by William Morris's famous The Strawberry Thief. This is this guy right here, this delightful little thrush stealing strawberries from Morris's garden. If you look at the original textile, you'll see his cousin in that, and then from there I added some of my own details, kind of inspired by 19th century British textiles and pattern work, and I'm just so happy with how it turned out. Before I even got there, I was sent these amazing threads by Melissa at Storyteller Stitchery. I have to say it slow because I will trip over my words there. She's just amazing. She creates these lovely threads. She hand dyes them in small batches. I'm going to talk a lot more about those. But let me just back up for a second so we can take a look at what you're getting in your kit. You should have printed instructions. Those are going to give you step-by-step instructions on what stitches go where, a suggested order of operation. You do not need to follow it exactly. If a different order makes more sense for you, then go with that. In some cases, there is overlap. So, for example, you'd want to do this fine before stitching the little claws on top of our bird here. So, but make it your own. You know, if you decide you don't like a specific stitch, you want to try something else, go for it. Your kit will include a cut of printed fabric, and it is permanently printed with the pattern template. So make sure you cover all of these guidelines with your stitches. You are also going to have an embroidery hoop in your kit. These are lovely. These are what I use for all of my projects. There is a notch here, so if you want to tighten the hoop, you can do that there. To sandwich your fabric here, you're going to put down your inner hoop. Fabric goes on top. Outer hoop goes on top of this. And we make a little tasty embroidery sandwich like so. At this point, I like to tighten this top screw. And then I go around and I pull out excess, because I really want to make sure before I get started with my stitching, I really want to be sure that this is drum tight, okay? That's going to save you a lot of headaches later. So get it as tight as you can get it, and then I do another tightening at the top, and I should be good to go. There are some ways to make this even tighter. If you would like, you could always bind your inner hoop with a strip of fabric, like say from an old pillowcase or something. This sample hoop, you can see I have it bound with this tape. It's called Thimtech. It's a thimble tape, but you can also use it to wrap your hoops, and it creates grip, and it makes make this inner hoop a little bit thicker, so that when we tighten up here, we can get super duper tight. So you can use something like that, or just wrap it with the fabric. Like I mentioned, you don't have to like stitch it in there or anything. You're just wrapping it around. I do have a tutorial on my website if you're interested in checking that out. Another thing, once you pull your fabric super duper tight, if you're finding it hard to get to some of these edges, you'll notice, right, we have this inner hoop that kind of blocks us from stitching all the way to the edge of our hoop. If you're finding that it's hard to stitch here, you can always, move your hoop a little bit to catch those edges. So maybe you pop your hoop off and just do a little scooch, and then come back on here so that you can get to those edges a little bit easier. If you're going a long time between hooping sessions, you actually might want to remove this hoop entirely in between those stitching sessions. The hoop can actually create a permanent crease around the edge of your project. So in my case, I am just gonna frame the finished project in the hoop, so I'm not too worried about that. But if you want to add this to like a quilt, or if you want to frame it in a square, you'll want to be more conscientious of that. One moment, please. Okay, we have a new kitten, and like most kittens, she loves thread. And something about the silk thread in particular, I swear, she is more obsessed with the silk thread than any other threads. Okay, so I just had to make sure she was being safe. So you're also going to have some embroidery needles in your kit. And let's see, and then you're going to have a bunch of thread. So let's talk about that, and then I'll show you how to thread the needle and kind of get started stitching. And at the very end, I'm going to show you how I like to back my hoop when I'm done, just to kind of make it more tidy and hang it on the wall. All right, let's see, we can get this out of the way. So here are our threads. Your kit is going to come with 9 different colors. I'm going to organize them here really quick. So this top section here, these are the 100% silk threads. And then, oh, sorry, I'm kind of not all the way in the frame. And then down here, these are the blends. So this is a mix between wool and silk. And actually, Melissa's so great. So on the back, she actually has labeled all of these. So they have color numbers and a color name, which you will find on your instructions. It tells you, the contents, and you can actually purchase these from her individually. Like, let's say you do this project and you decide, oh my gosh, I'm in love with silk. I'm in love with the blends. I need these in my life. You can go to her website, and she actually has these for sale individually. I can't remember off the top of my head how, what the yardage is on her individual, like bobbins, or I don't know what she wants to call these. I think bobbins is the right word. We'll call them bobbins because that's a good word. It's fun to say. For your kit, you can see all the amounts of thread are a little bit different, and that's on purpose. So when I stitched this, I kept track of how much thread I was using, and then I added extra. So you should have plenty of thread. If you are running low or feel like you're going to run low, please reach out. What else can I tell you about that? What I used a lot of thread on, as you can see here, we have so much of this turquoise. It's because I used like a doubled over length of the thread to do all these vines. And I like how it looks. If you find that to be like a little too much 3D, how it's kind of bumpy, like built off the surface of the fabric, you can always go down to a single strand to do that. Okay, so let's see, what else can I tell you? Well, I want to tell you more about these threads. So they're so soft. You probably have them in your hands here. Melissa sent me these originally to play with, and I wish you could feel this through the screen. They're just such a delight. You'll notice that they have some variegation to them. So because of the way that they are dyed and the little small batches she does, you will notice variation, and every single like bobbin you get is going to be different, which I love. So you'll see here, like compared to here, you can see a tiny bit of a difference, right? Between the different kind of dye lots. And that's, again, I think that's the wonderful thing about these hand-dyed, like specialty small batch threads, that there's gonna be a little bit of variation. So every time I stitch this, it's gonna turn out a little bit different. In addition, you'll notice how it kind of makes the colors look like they're glowing. And in fact, that's one of my favorite parts here is like the this back stitch I did around all the leaves. Since I made it really small, I feel like it almost looks like beads. And because of the way it's variegated and the little bit of shine, like it looks like beads to me. I think it's very cool. Anyways, okay. I could go on and on, but the practicality. So there's just a little notch on here. So if you need a length, you just pull from here and then cut your length, the thread that you want to use. And let's see, we'll use my hoop right here. So here I have, let's see, here's like a sample cut of the green color, and you can see the end how this thread, this is the silk, and it's the same with the blend. It's two strands, but they are twisted together and they are not meant to be untwisted. This is indivisible. So don't come in here and try to pull these apart. You're going to end up with a frayed mess. But you can see it has this natural twist. And again, that adds to the texture when you're stitching. So here's a length. What is this? Maybe tip of my finger to my elbow, maybe a little bit longer. So I'm going to just snip the end here because it's a little bit ragged here, because who knows where it's been, probably in the kitten's mouth. And to thread my needle, I'm just going to kind of pinch the tip here, and then push it through like so. Another way to make it a little easier is to give it a little lick. I'll do that off camera. So then it makes that point a little bit easier to thread. The needles I have in this kit are pretty good size, so that it will be easy to thread your silk and your wool, and also so that the silk and wool doesn't get like damaged in a really tiny eye of a needle. Okay, so at this point you can start stitching. It's up to you, how do you want to start your stitch. If you want to do some kind of an anchor, or if you just want to tie a little knot, you can legit just do one of these simple little knots like so if you want, especially when you're first starting and you don't have any other stitches to kind of work into. So from here I would just come up, I would stitch. Alternatively, if you already have stitches on the back side of your work, you can come in and do, something like this, where we just kind of weave the tail end like that. And now I have a nice anchor. It's not going anywhere. So that's another option. And let's see, what else can I tell you? So like I said, we want to be pretty gentle with these threads. They have this lovely natural like voluptuousness to them. That's probably not the right word. I think Melissa called it like a natural crimp, which makes sense to me. So it actually makes it easier when you're doing stitches like a satin stitch, because the individual stitches kind of blend together just because of the nature of the silk and the wool. So, you want to lean into that. You don't want to pull your stitches super duper tight to try to like straighten out the crimp, to straighten out that lovely texture that's already here. If you find that your thread is getting kind of beat up like this, how I had this tail that was starting to unravel, you can use smaller cuts. So, when I use cotton, sometimes I'll use like 2 feet, even more, like longer, like even a yard length, which is totally excessive and ends up in lots of tangles and not a good time. I would not recommend it. But for silk, I definitely try to intentionally use shorter lengths. Like I said, I try to keep it less than like that fingertip to the elbow length. You could do less than that. Just practice and see. It'll be a little trial and error. It's going to look a little different in your hands than in mine. So when we're just stitching with a single strand, we'll be stitching with this length. And as I get closer and closer to the end here, I'm going to be running out of space. So I'll be doing this kind of thing where I'm using more and more of that tail. And then finally we'll have to get another cut of thread. When you want to stitch with 2 lengths of thread, I basically am just stitching with the overlapped section here. So that is going to look, let's see, give this a lick. And let me thread this like so. So instead of stitching with this single length, I'm actually going to match the 2 ends here, like so. And I'm going to stitch with this doubled over section, right? So same thing as far as if you want to just tie a knot in this, or if you want to weave in the back. That's what I was doing here. You can see I have the 2 strands on my needle here. What's going to happen though is when I get to the end, I have to cut the needle out, right? There's no way for it to get out, and that's fine. You did it right. Do not be alarmed. Okay, let me see here. Excuse me. I've been sick. Okay, let's see. I think we went over everything. I just wanted to show you guys how to finish the hoop. We'll do a little special appearance. This is Butterbeans. She just wants to play, but did want to give you a little look at her. She's absolutely adorable, and she really, like, I'm always going to think about her with this silk thread because, she loves it, and it's as soft as she is, and she's really, really soft. Okay, so here's my finished one. So before I get too far, I want to make sure I have this nice and centered in my hoop. Make sure this is nice and tight. And then I'm going to turn it over. If you want, you can trim some of this down. You know, yours is going to be on that square piece of fabric. Mine is not. Mine is on a circle today. You don't have to use your specialty threads, and you probably don't want to use your specialty threads if you have something else at home you can use. Since I already have this ready to go, I'm going to go ahead and use it. But I'm going to start at the top, and I'm just going to do a running stitch. It's up to you if you want to have it be on the underside or the top side. The underside, you can kind of hide the knot at the end. I guess we could do it like that. So I'm just going to do running stitch. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're just using it to cinch. In theory, no one will see it. Some people do like a step before this where they actually like tuck in like a piece of cardstock right here that kind of fits in and covers the back of the stitches. Maybe on that cardstock you could even write the date. You could sign it. If you don't want to use cardstock, I've seen people use felt. I do have more suggestions on my website. If you're looking for other ways to finish, you can do all kinds of fancy things with your frames. You can paint them, you can bedazzle them. Actually, I have these kind of cute, they're fake wood frames, but they would probably look pretty cute. I'll grab one once I finish this. Alright, so I'm getting back to the top, and like I said, it is messy and I'm going fast because it doesn't have to look great. So once I get back to the top, here's my two ends, and we're just going to give it a pull, like so, and then I just tie these two together. That's it. I'm just going to tie it like let's see, I guess I'll do a double knot. There's probably like a specific fancy knot I could do here, but I don't really know my knots. So from there you can just trim it like so. Here's that front side. Ta-da! Also the back of my work is messy. I apologize. Yeah, I'm working on that one. Okay, let me grab this hoop over here. Biscuit. Just have a cat party happening. So this is that other hoop I was talking about. That something like this would probably look cute too. So instead of finishing it in the stitching hoop, you would, put it on something like this and get it nice and tight, and then do the same thing on the back side to finish it. Oops. Like I mentioned, I do have my hoops that I have bound like this. So if I do bind my hoop, I don't frame in that hoop. I have my framing hoops, and then I have my stitching hoops. So once I was done with this, I would remove this hoop and use it again for another project and frame this in something else. Either just an empty hoop like this, or whatever I feel like doing. So, okay, well, I don't want to keep you too long. I bet you want to go stitch and get started. If you have any questions, please send me an email. I'm always happy to help. I hope you check out Melissa's site to learn more about the threads, to learn more about the process, to learn more about why these are so special. And she's always happy to help too if you have questions about the threads. And yeah, let's get going.